So this is Dane Wigington with GeoEngineering Watch Radio for May 9th, 2015. The saga on planet Earth continues to unfold, and for many, the normalcy bias is still incredibly difficult to get over and to get past. We'll get to calls quick today. Got Russ with us as always. Russ, in spite of struggling with health issues like a lot of people are, more and more every day, Russ never gives up. He's always at his post. He's always there when I need him. He's helped us over and over and over with different issues with geoengineeringwatch.org when the site goes down, and Russ always seems to be able to make it all work again, and very grateful to him for that. But anyway, Russ is with us still today. We'll get to calls quickly on the calls. If you can mute your end if you're online so we don't hear background noise, and if you can get us questions as quickly and concisely as we can, we'll try to get to as many callers as we can. Back to our current situation. How desperate is it? How critical is all of our collective reality? It's very critical. And with the normalcy bias that I mentioned a moment ago, even at this late hour, so many do not grasp the gravity of what's unfolding around us. It just doesn't seem real. Too many people have seen too many very realistic looking future sci-fi movies that plant and instill these notions that technology will fix everything, that however big the tidal wave appears coming at us, that somehow it'll subside at the last moment, and some sort of new construct from the science community will pull a rabbit out of a hat and make everything better. That's just not reality in this case. Some radical changes are coming for all of us. And if we embrace that, instead of being adverse to it, in many of the great traditions, there are certain parallel philosophies, from biblical texts to Asian philosophies. There are certain fundamental pillars that are very useful in facing the sorts of challenges that we face. And one of those, a basic building block, is to embrace the challenges that you cannot avoid. And this would be a parallel philosophy, again, with all the major traditions. And in doing so, you change your whole paradigm, your whole perspective. Instead of trying to run and hide from something, you face it squarely, head on. All of us would be in a much better mental state and much more effective fighters in this battle if we do that. If we quit trying to hang on to the life that was, that had no cares, no worries, we could, the soccer mom sort of lifestyle, or golfing on Sunday that I see a lot of people do. I never really understood that. Even if we didn't have all this aerosol spraying issues in our skies that was completely destroying Earth's life support systems, if I knew my brothers and sisters in, say, Africa were suffering from the blood diamond situation, or the precious metals that are being pulled out of areas there, and the carnage that's going on, if I knew that was happening, even if my life was going along fine, I couldn't go golfing on Sunday. I couldn't do it, knowing that there's brothers and sisters around the globe suffering. But none of us are going to be able to maintain the life that we've had for much longer. That's just a fact. The sooner we embrace that, and the sooner we make our solace lie in putting our energies and efforts toward the common good, then life has value, life has meaning, and we may make a monumental difference, even at this late hour, if we come together. If we look at some of the major issues that have happened in the last 14 years, and starting with 9/11, I remember when 9/11 happened. I remember the day very clearly. I was building my home here out in the woods, and at the end of the day, after the few men that were here helping me had discussed the issue all morning long, that the Twin Towers had come down and so forth, and I was overhearing a conversation between two of these helpers, workers, stating that we should turn the whole Middle East into a parking lot, carpet bomb the whole thing, nuke them all, that kind of mentality. And at that early date, of course, I didn't know all the factors about that event, but I recognized I didn't know all the factors. And the question I posed to these two men was, even if we believe the official story about the Oklahoma City bombing, about Timothy McVeigh, which I don't believe the official story, I think he was a scapegoat, but even if we accepted that, what I pointed out to these two men, Timothy McVeigh was from Kingman. I moved to where I'm at from Kingman, Arizona. I lived in a very remote place in the mountains there. And the question I posed to them was, well, Timothy McVeigh was from Arizona. Should they have nuked Kingman, Arizona because he was from there, killing me and killing everybody else who lived there? That kind of mentality needs to go. It absolutely needs to go. And now, of course, we know about 9/11. Anybody who's researched it knows the official story is complete nonsense. It's total nonsense. And the cognitive dissonance with people who can believe the official story is quite astounding. That they can believe, in the case of especially Building 7, any of the buildings, in fact, that they could just fall down from a carbon fiber. I've done a lot of research on that issue. In fact, the Twin Towers were designed, because they're so high, they were designed to take an impact from a fully loaded passenger jetliner. 707s, which is a bigger aircraft than what hit them, they were designed to take multiple impacts from a 707. Why did they fall to the ground from a carbon fire? It's a virtual impossibility. Building 7 that fell in 7 seconds. How can people believe that that could happen from a few couches and chairs burning in the first floor? This is what I'm getting at, tying this to the beginning of my conversation with facing reality. I know people, they're not friends anymore, that when it came down to it, they were okay with 9/11 because if that's what it took to keep them in their delusional reality with their BMWs and so forth, they were fine with that. If that's what it took for the power structure to galvanize the American public into supporting the imperial wars for resource acquisition, wars of aggression, they were okay with that. Now, in regard to the climate engineering, along the same note, if you will, I know people who feel if that's what has to happen, if the power structure is doing it, it must be for the common good. This sort of trained-in notion, it must be for the common good or they wouldn't do this. There's no excuse for that notion anymore. No excuse at all. Those are just people who don't want to pull their share of the load for the common good. They want to stay in their paradigm of delusion that's going to be shattered soon, like it or not. So the sooner we reach the place where people will put the golf clubs down, turn on the internet, find some real data while we still have the internet so that they're more up to speed and more effective fighters, the sooner people do that, the more chance we have. And when it comes to how dire our situation is, there are still, this is the original question of 10 minutes ago, there are people who still have convinced themselves that trouble is off on the horizon somewhere. That's not the case. It's here. It's now. Marine ecosystems are collapsing. The attempt to try to continue manipulating the climate in a way that perpetuates the confusion that a lot of people are still hanging on to, this manufactured notion that the human race has not really damaged the planet, there's really nothing wrong, and that anybody who thinks there's something wrong is simply an alarmist. That is a completely ridiculous and manufactured notion that is only accepted by those who don't want to face the truth. We have to face the truth. And thankfully, I think I might have shared this a week or so ago, but it's important. I want to bring it up again. When I was at the Capitol now 4 weeks ago, the Sacramento, California State Capitol, I've been there half a dozen times to pass data on to staffers, state representatives, state congressmen, committees. I leave commercial DVDs, flyers with the staff members, and I converse with them. And finally, I was told by a representative staffer, we all know this is going on, referring to climate engineering. We all know this is going on. We don't know what to do. And I spent a fair amount of time conversing with her, conveying that What we do is we put this issue out in the open. Hiding in the shadows is not going to get the job done. It's not going to get it done. And it's back to the example I've used before. It's like hiding in your cabin in the Titanic. Was that going to save you? It's not going to save you. Get out on deck and do something. Do something. None of us are in a position to do nothing. And every day that passes with these programs going on, we have less chance. And they have the noose completely around our neck, completely. They control where it rains, where it doesn't, how toxic that rain is. They control where it snows in many cases as well. It snowed, by the way, in the hills above San Diego yesterday. Yeah, it snowed. If that's not a red flag for people that this weather is completely engineered, I don't know what is. I mean, we've been in the mid-90s in Northern California in recent weeks. In fact, going back just prior, it snowed where I live on April 6th or 7th, just after we had a week of mid-90 degree temperatures and followed up by mid-90 degree temperatures. What's it doing snowing? Because they can chemically nucleate the moisture and cause it to snow. I hear from people all over the country that are seeing snowflakes at 50 degrees. It's not normal. It's not natural. Again, we don't control we have no say in the life support systems of the planet anymore. We have no say how toxic the air we breathe is. We have no say on whether it rains or whether it doesn't. This can't continue, and people are getting sick, and this is important too. The environment and our bodies are very resilient, but once they've had enough, once they reach their breaking point, breakdown ensues quickly, and we are fast reaching that point. And so, again, I hope, and if we can converse about today about the immediacy of this danger, that every breath we take is laden with these materials, that this must be a priority in our lives if we are to have any chance in turning the ship. And there are other wheels turning. I can't go into a lot of detail on certain things right now, but there are other wheels turning, and there is a lot going on behind the scenes with people who are waking up to this issue that are joining the fight. The undercurrent of awareness is much larger than is yet visible, and we should take heart in that. So every day we're sowing seeds, know this, those seeds will sprout. They will have no choice. There's no hiding from what's unfolding, and even there's an effort by the power structure right now to be more covert in their spraying. Hearing this from all over, and we're certainly seeing this in Northern California. The shorter, bright trails are also spray. Skies are silvery white. The sun comes up, the skies are white. It sets, the skies are white. In so many cases, you look toward the distant horizon and see a cumulus cloud on top of a mountain somewhere, you can barely make it out because the backdrop is white. That's a sky filled with aerosols. Go outside at night with a bright light, aim it up, and see what you see. And remember that you're breathing that. It looks like it's snowing. This material is killing everything. It's virtually silent on my mountaintop in the forest. It used to be only 7-8 years ago. You couldn't sleep in the morning because there were birds everywhere. There were bears in my front yard, commonly. Deer, turkeys. There's nothing now. There's nothing. I'm not saying there's nothing in the forest. There's some out there, but there's very few. There's very few. Marine ecosystems are dying. Bottom line is the biosphere is collapsing. To ignore this is to ignore our fate at our own folly. When we know statistically in the last 40 years, human populations have more than doubled, wildlife populations globally are declined by 2/3. 2/3. The majority gone in 40 years. In fact, most of that in the last 20 years. And we're losing 200 to 300 species a day to extinction right now. That can't continue, clearly. We are in free fall off the 100th story. This is industrialized civilization. You can jump off a building and think you're flying until you hit the sidewalk. And this is industrialized civilization. There was no chance it could continue. No chance. Now we're faced with the consequences of this 150-year fossil fuel fiesta with insane aspects like climate engineering. The epitome, the absolute epitome of human insanity is climate engineering. So let's Russ, let's open up the phone lines. I want to hear how you are back there first, but then let's open up the phone lines and let's discuss the immediacy of our situation and what individuals are doing in their area to help sound the alarm effectively and efficiently. Russ, what's going on with you out there?
Absolutely. Well, we're getting pounded here in the Bangor, Maine area, first of all. And it's amazing how many people are now coming out and reporting that they can smell this odor of nail polish, fingernail polish, or fingernail polish remover, or acetone in the air.
That's the comparable scent you smell, right?
That's exactly what I smell. I've smelled it for a long time. I've written articles about it. We also have, and I've been researching toluene, which is the chemical that gives model cement glue, which is what it smells like to me, its odor. And incidentally, we have a set of symptoms in toluene that are identical to what people are experiencing. One amazing thing that I experienced in Jamestown before I moved here, I left Jamestown, New York to get away from the spraying. It was so bad I could not survive there. And it amazes me. Some people do seem to do okay. They have little symptoms. Other people do very badly, and they can't smell it or taste it. They have no idea that this is the cause. But I came here. I was getting bloody noses almost on a daily basis. Another area in Maine, and of course it got better here because it wasn't quite as bad. In another area in Maine, there's a place called Ellsworth, which is about 40 minutes from here. And I've had family come up and stay there when they would visit. Guess what happens to some family members? They start getting bloody noses. Other people get rashes on their skin. These are symptoms of toluene. I don't know if this is the chemical that's being sprayed, but it sure smells like model cement glue to me, and other people have reported it as well. So
is this when it's cool? When it's cooler outside, Russ? Is this going on when you have a more a cool environment outside? When they're maybe nucleating something, or what are the conditions when you've experienced, for example, when you got your nosebleeds? Was that in a more cooler, wintry type scenario, or not?
Well, that was usually the conditions of the skies at the times were kind of where you would see the halo around the sun. It seemed as if they were spraying a petroleum product. It was misty. It would leave an oily compound on windshields all the time. A lot of people reported that to me as well. But yeah, it was during cool times. I didn't really log the exact conditions in terms of temperature or the flow of the air at any of those given times. But the symptoms are very distinguishable, as are the scents. And
during an ice, to relate to what you're saying, during a not nucleated storm over our heads, it was, I don't know, 45 degrees and snowing. I was in the woods with the chainsaw crew that I worked with for a long time, restoring habitat. We're all swinging saws, thinning the forest, and out of 8 of us, when some of this material is coming down on us, in about a 10-minute period, 6 of us got nosebleeds. So, I mean, this is not an accident. Obviously, there's solid incident to verify this is occurring. So, I mean, if this stuff is causing that type of hemorrhaging, that immediately, what's it doing inside us? This stuff's building up in us again. That's why those of us that are focused on this fight, again, there is no more immediate threat right now, not even Fukushima. Fukushima may kill us all in the end, but right now the most immediate threat we face is every breath we take. And the different chemicals that some people can sense and smell, I do not doubt what Russ is saying at all. And I've heard the same thing from many other people in different places that are unconnected. They all smell the same sorts of things, and each of us are susceptible in different ways. But this is a very, very immediate fight, and those in power do not care what they spray at this point. In their mind, in their twisted, demented way of thinking, this is for the overall good. Just like for them, 9/11 was for the overall good. The fact that elements inside our government or the global power structure had to create the 9/11 event to galvanize the American population to support the wars of aggression overseas so that the empire could continue to expand, continue to acquire the resources it needs to perpetuate this cancerous expansion. In their mind, in their twisted way of thinking, it's for the common good, which means for their good. Same with the spraying. They don't care what they spray at this point. Whatever experiments they're doing to try to increase the strength of their chemical ice nucleation, to increase the ability to create artificial cloud cover, this is an ongoing experiment above our heads, and every single thing they spray, we breathe. Russ, let's open phone lines. I see a lot of people waiting, so let's open and let's try to blaze through as fast as we can. And again, everybody on the phone, if you can make as quick and concise a question as you can, we'll try to go through as many people as we can.
Absolutely. The phone number for those who want to call in is 718-717-8296. And Dane, to add what you were saying too, interesting about 9/11. Aaron Russo was actually a Hollywood director. He directed or produced. He was a producer who produced a show, Trading Places, with Eddie Murphy. Also produced a show called The Rose with Bette Midler, which was hugely successful. Both of these were largely successful. He became friends with one of the Rockefeller brothers, who told him that the purpose for 9/11, he insinuated this so strongly it was completely clear, and he revealed this. Aaron Russo revealed this in an interview with Alex Jones, that the purpose, one of the purposes, was passage of laws like the Patriot Act, which brings the clamp down. I just wanted to add that in there too.
It is. I agree. And Aaron Russo died under a little bit of suspect circumstances, did he not?
Yeah, he did. He died of cancer shortly thereafter. Seems to be a very common condition, unfortunately and tragically. Very sad. All right.
Seems to happen to people who fight the system. And an even more direct example, I brought it before. Matthew Simmons, the world's foremost independent authority on deep sea drilling, went on CNN and said things they did not want him to say about the Gulf oil spill. He was dead the next day in his pool. In fact, people can Google that, Matthew Simmons. And that's how fast the power structure puts down those who stand up against it sometimes. But anyway, let's take some calls.
All right, let's do it. Caller with your phone number that ends in 33. What's your name?
Hi, it's Jacqueline again in Spring Hill, Florida.
Hey, Jacqueline, Spring Hill, right near where I grew up, 20 minutes north of Newport Richey, where I grew up. How are you doing?
Hi, Jacqueline.
Good. How are you? I was just really calling to listen in, but I'll be quick. I was just going to mention again some more things that I've been doing. I just can't help myself knowing what I know. Going around different places around town, and I just can't help but talk to everyone. So what I'm going to start doing is just walking around in the parking lots. I'm in the parking lot of Home Depot right now, and I have my GeoEngineering cards with me, and I just pass them along to people and ask them if they're aware of what's going on, and tell them to look into it, and that it's the biggest threat to all life on Earth, and our planet is suffering, and we are too. And besides the Facebook thing, like I said, I just talk to everyone about it everywhere I go. I can't help myself. So I just wanted to share that.
And as you do that, as you continue to do that, Jacqueline, you improve your skill every time at that probably. You refine your ability to pass on the message. And again, with people that most of the population understands the media is smoke and mirrors. They don't tell us anything other than what they want to tell us. And what I found with most people, to pass on a flyer, for example, and to say, look, the media is not telling us about this, the government's not telling us about this, it affects every single one of us, these programs that are going on our skies, please investigate. Just a simple statement like that doesn't alienate people, doesn't put their defenses up. If you pass on some credible, compelling data, then that's really, really effective seed planting. And again, we have the flyers in GeoEngineering Watch you can download for free. If you find the right printer, you can make those flyers, color glossy two-sided flyers. You can make them very inexpensively if you find the right printer. Don't go to Kinko's, find an actual printer. And to keep those with you everywhere you go, if everybody would practice this, the effects would be profound. And we're gaining ground in a lot of other arenas as well. We combine all this, we'll reach critical mass soon. But thanks for what you're doing right now, Jack. And I do the same thing. I'm driving down I-5 in California. When I go by a massive rice farming big office off to the side, I get off the next off-ramp, I go back, I walk into the corporate offices, ask for who's in charge, and I pass on data and DVDs, and everywhere we go, if we start lighting these spot fires, we'll start to cover the landscape with them.
Yep, that's great.
Thanks, Jacqueline.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for the call. Yeah, thanks for the call, Jacqueline. I'd encourage people to get a shirt or bumper sticker, put it on their car. It's a very easy way to walk around. You don't have to think, you don't have to work, and you're getting the message out. Caller with a number that ends in 26. Who are we talking to? Caller with your number that ends in 26. Are you there? All right. Caller with your number that ends in 98. Are you there? Yes. Caller with your number that ends in 98. Who are we speaking to? All right. Caller with your number that ends in 78. Who are we speaking to? Okay, I know these callers are there. Caller with your phone number that ends in 78. Are you listening?
Yeah, this is Steve from Nikiski, Alaska, guys.
There we are. There's Steve. How you doing, Steve?
Hi,
Pretty
Steve.
good. Hi, Dane. Pretty much I was just listening in today, but I wanted to mention that everyone's got the same symptoms here. The sky is severely polluted with this stuff. We've got a steady stream coming out of the Pacific into Alaska, and everyone has the same nasal problems, runny, itchy, runny eyes and nose and itchy, and many people have persistent coughs, and they're all talking about this cold that's going around, and people seem to keep saying that they can't get rid of it. But it's definitely getting worse here, and I'm just going to listen in the rest of the show. I appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thanks for the point you bring up, though, Steve, because we're hearing that from everywhere. People that can't get better. And how can you get better when you can't get away from the exposure? You can't get away from it. Again, that's what makes this issue the issue we must immediately deal with. That if we don't deal with this, we're not going to be healthy enough or cognitively functional enough to deal with anything else. We have to prioritize. If your head's on fire, you have to forget about your stub toe and your skinned knee. You have to deal with the most important issue first, and that is, without question, climate engineering. And again, as bad as it is right now, it's already horrific. They're droughting out certain regions, completely flooding others, and the toxification is immense. We're hearing, in fact, right when I got on the radio show, I just got a call from people that are connected with some of the local farmers here that now are having trouble growing anything. If we can't grow our food, we can't maintain our health. That's a very, very immediate battle for life. And that's why this issue has to be a priority. And if we could get this issue out into the open, it would drag everything else with it. 9/11 and so much other aspects of the tyranny that's ongoing. The entire population of the globe would know that not only are they expendable to the power structure, they are a liability. And at any point in time, if the power structure chooses, if they make the spraying mix more lethal, it's game over. Right then, right there. No more slow kill. If they put any kind of pathogen in that mix, that's it. We're done. And to think that they wouldn't do that is very naive. So, Steve, thanks for the update.
I believe they already are doing it, and it's an all-out assault, and I'm in this fight every day. I'm going to work hard tonight, wake up as many people as possible, and thanks for the show, guys.
Give me a video from up there, Steve.
I'm working on it, Dane.
Thank you, Steve, for everything you're doing.
I appreciate it.
You too.
All right, thank you, Steve. It's great to hear from you. Caller with your phone number that ends in 54. Who are we speaking with?
Hello, how you doing, Dane?
Good. Who are we speaking with?
What's this?
You there?
Yep, we're here. Can you hear us? Caller.
Oh, yeah, okay, I can hear you now. How you doing?
Good.
Good.
To have you on. Who is this?
Yeah.
This is Rode.
Hi, Rob. How are you? What's on your mind?
Well, I tell you what, I first learned about chemtrails in 1999, and I've been doing research on them every time, or ever since then. And I tell you what, recently, like about a year or so ago, I heard about this fake snow. Well, I tell you what, I went outside and scooped up a bunch of snow to try to debunk this whole thing, right, about the fake snow. Well, it's fake. I tried everything I could. I remember when I was a kid, you could pick up a snowball and it would melt in your hands. This stuff doesn't melt. I mean, they're putting so much BS in the air that it's just changing everything.
This is where, again, thank you for bringing this up, Rogan. And this is such a critical aspect of climate engineering that many people are not yet recognizing or acknowledging the fact that they can chemically nucleate what should have been rain into snow. If it's already cold, if they chemically nucleate, it makes it colder. It simply drops temperatures.
Yeah.
the endothermic reaction that occurs with the chemical nucleation process drops temperatures staggeringly. So when we have this artificially chemically nucleated material, it sublimates. It converts from a solid to a gas, and for the most part bypasses the liquid phase. We've heard this from farmers, from people all over the East Coast where they've been doing this repeatedly. Obviously, they did it yesterday in San Diego. We can see it on the radar when we'll have 50 degrees and rain north of the Canadian border in the U.S., and we see snow falling in southern Arizona or San Diego. Something's radically wrong with that. So they cause a cool down, and for people in those areas, it's a very shallow layer in the cool in the surface, and if they see a few snowflakes falling, even if it's 50 degrees, for those people, it's very psychologically confusing for them. They think, well, it must be cold. It's May and it's snowing. Well, yeah, but it was 80 degrees yesterday and it's 50 degrees now. Why is it snowing? And a lot of people can't seem to face that discrepancy, that it shouldn't be snowing, that they do have this kind of power over the atmosphere, at this point at least, very, very toxic. But we need people to recognize all aspects of climate engineering. It's not just the horizon trails on an otherwise clear day. As Russ described, the silvery white skies, as I tried to describe, much more effort to be covert right now. If you're not seeing a blue sky and defined white clouds, you have a lot of aerosols in the sky. And again, the chemical ice nucleation was a hugely powerful tool all winter long, all over the globe, especially in the eastern U.S.
Well, I agree. And like I said, I had to prove it to myself what was going on. You know what I mean? And that's what everybody needs to do.
They do. All we ask with the data posted, for example, on geoengineeringwatch.org, all I've ever asked is for people to legitimately investigate without preconceptions. We have a whole lot of people that aren't doing that. Even people that are aware of climate engineering and against it are not actually investigating a lot of other aspects that relate to the effects, the overall climate situation, and so forth. So it's imperative that all of us actually investigate, that we get rid of preconceptions, that we connect the dots properly if we're to have effective, solid, foundational conclusions that have credibility. It's imperative. So it's compelling testimony from someone like you who didn't believe it was happening and went to prove it for himself and now gets it. And that's what we need people to do. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for sharing that.
Like I said, I've known about chemtrails from 1999, and I did years of research on it. You know what I mean? So I know what's going on.
But the nucleated snow part is, even if you know about it, it's still hard to get your arms around the fact that they have that much power chemically to nucleate snow, isn't it?
I mean, all you got to do is look up in the sky.
Yeah, but I mean, again, a lot of people that know that aerosol spraying is going on are not really fully acknowledging the fact that these cool downs are engineered in nature, completely engineered. And that fact needs to be considered and put into the equation. These cool downs are completely engineered. We don't go, again, example I brought up before, May 13th, or May 1st, 2013, Amarillo, Texas. 100 degrees on the ground, all-time record high, snowed the next day. How is that possible? A whole lot of chemical nucleation. That's how. So these type of radical swings, they're engineered.
Of course they are. I mean, most of us here know this. I mean, but when you go out there to the street and tell a sheep that, all you get is a damn eye roll.
Yes, but again, not for long. And if you don't go into a long dissertation with somebody, if you just pass on a credible flyer, and I really recommend people do that, just like Jacqueline said when she called in, she's actually handing them a card. That is 10 times more effective than trying to just grab somebody in a parking lot, point at the sky, and start talking to them. That sets people off. If you just very nonchalantly say, if they are spraying the sky, you say, hey, look, we're just trying to spread the word and to let people know what the media is not telling them. Here's a card. Hope you investigate. It affects us all. We're just trying to wake people up to this issue and walk on.
Plus
so you don't put up
well, the thing is, the whole problem is Fox News doesn't have chemtrails on the TV, and that way nobody sees them.
Well, they have them. They just try to pretend that it's normal. You know, that this whole contrail myth that that's somehow normal. And I'm updating right now a short video on the high bypass jet engine and the type of skies that we're seeing with the more covert spraying, the short bright trails. It's still spraying. I'm trying to update that short video so that we have a new tool to account for the changes that are going on in our sky. But anyway, thank you for sharing what you had to do to prove this to yourself. I hope other people can be as diligent in their investigation as you were. So thank you for that, and let's all keep.
Well, it's not that hard to do. It's just if you can get just people to just see and listen. That's the whole problem.
Pass on that data, though. I would recommend having that data with you like Jacqueline does. Again, it's not that hard. You can get the business card size data printed for a penny a piece if you go to the right printer. A penny a piece. So to have that with you is easy, and to pass those cards on has a lot greater effect than trying to verbally tell anybody. They're not going to remember the website you gave them, and it's just going to seem like some off person approached them in the parking lot that they just want to forget about. If you pass on that card and walk away without putting up their defenses, you're going to have a lot better results. So we're going to update the card on the GeoEngineering Watch homepage so it's the verbiage is a little more legible, so people can download that for free and print it wherever. So we'll try to keep those tools available. And thanks for what you're doing. Again.
Okay, Dan, you too, okay?
Thank you. Have a great day, Rogue.
Thank you, Rogue. Thank you.
You too.
I would also contribute that a lot of people who have been out on the streets with signs or giving out flyers are reporting a lot of positive feedback these days. People are beeping their horns and saying thank you. It is changing. The consensus out there and the feeling among people is changing. So be encouraged and please go. That doesn't mean we shouldn't go out there, though. We've got to get everyone out there now and get the momentum going. Caller with your number that ends in 00. Who are we speaking with?
This is Ralph in Reading. Hello to Dane, and hello to you, Russ.
Hi, Ralph.
Hello, Ralph. How are you?
Good, good. I just called in this morning because I had something happen to me yesterday. It was kind of up close and personal about geoengineering. I stopped by my favorite stand for strawberries at a corner of an intersection about probably a mile and a half away from my home. And there a family grows them organically on leased land. And I kind of quipped to the grower. I said, well, I guess you haven't found a real job yet, right? And he said, nah, things, if they don't turn around, I may have to. And I said, what's up? And he said, well, the bottom line, strawberry season is almost over before it's gotten started. He said, my plants are not healthy. We've tried more water. We've tried less water. Nothing has worked. The berries are ripening way too fast, and people are complaining the berries taste flat. And he said, we have to pick them at an accelerated rate because if they're too long on the vine, then they get sunburn and they get bad spots on them. And he said also the soil pH is all weird. And of course that gave me the opportunity to discuss geoengineering with he and his wife, and they're both pretty tuned into nature. And he said many of their family members and friends who also grow crops down the Sacramento Valley have been wondering about the increases they were all seeing in the trails in the sky from the aircraft, and just wondering if possibly that had anything to do with it. And of course I took that opportunity to kind of fill them in. So I dropped some flyers off there this morning. I was out yesterday, but I did drop them by and left them so when people come by to buy strawberries, they can also grab a flyer. But you know, that just brought it home to me. Here is a favorite place of mine, and varies incidentally, that I did buy. I should be eating maybe the cardboard little thing they came in, because it's about the taste is about that flat. So that just reemphasized the immediacy of what's going on when a small farmer can't even grow strawberries as a result of what's going on overhead. That tells you how much of an immediate threat that we are facing.
It is, Ralph. I mean, again, thanks for driving that point home, because as we stated earlier in the show, if they can control the life-giving moisture, where that falls, how toxic it is, our air, they control what we need to survive, period. And we're absorbing everything that comes down. It's building up on our systems. This couldn't be a more immediate fight, and that's why people need to reprioritize in their life. This can't be a once-a-week battle, and I realize people have certain basic daily responsibilities they have to deal with, but there's a lot of other non-essential things being done by people who we really need in this fight. We need them in this battle to help do what Jacqueline's doing and what Rhode's doing and what a lot of other people are doing. We need that to happen every day to bring other people on board, to expand this awareness net that we're trying to establish till we reach critical mass. So anyway, thanks for pointing that out, Ralph. And let's hope that we can get some of these farmers on film. We're going to try to do that and to try to drive the point home to those that are just not paying attention. Because again, our situation is absolutely immediate. And once links start dropping out of the chain, this is important for people to understand. Our modern industrialized society is an extremely delicate balance, extremely elaborate. Once the blocks start falling out of the foundation, it will crumble very, very quickly with blinding speed. And I would argue we are perilously close to that point. The power structure knows it. They're putting their chess pieces in place right now, preparing for this. We must reach critical mass so that those in the military, whom the power structure expects to carry out their plans of lockdown and martial law, so that those people in the military understand that we are on their side and we need them on our side, and that they are being used for tools against their own countrymen. So again, we're back to critical mass. We have to reach it, and soon. And everybody needs to play a part in that. So thanks for all you're doing, Ralph. You've done a lot and continue to do a lot, and I'm very grateful for that. So thanks for that input, and thanks for your efforts.
You bet. It's my pleasure.
Ralph, thank you so much for calling. Caller with your number that ends in 50. Who are we speaking with?
Yes, hello. This is Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Hey, first of all, thank you both, Dane and Russ, for all of your sacrifices, and I know there have been many. I'll get right to the point. The relationship between coal ash and geoengineering. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, I can tell you this, that a physicist that I work closely with, he's a physicist of considerable notoriety and highly credentialed. The chemical signature for what we're seeing in the tests quite closely resembles what we would expect from a coal fly ash material as a base material, not as a primary only material, but as a base material. So it's very possible that's being used. And again, the ocean fertilization, which I believe is going on, I did an article on this recently because I was able to locate peer-reviewed study that entertained the use of steel slag for ocean fertilization. So if you look at it through the eyes of the geoengineers, they can spray a material for SRM, solar radiation management, in the stratosphere that then falls to the surface of the ocean and becomes ocean fertilization. All of this process is extremely devastating to the environment, but when you look at it through the eyes of those profiting from this and those that are using it for power, they just don't see it this way. And those carrying out the programs, again, it's about a paycheck and a pension for them. So it does appear that it's possible that it's being used, and it would be no surprise given the kind of mentality that we're dealing with, and we're continuing to investigate it.
I have just recently become aware 2 months ago of what's going on, and just recently, 2 days ago, came across the possible relationship with the coal ash and geoengineering. Is what can we do to bring more awareness to that relationship? Because I found very little on it online.
Well, it's because we don't have enough people to actually investigate. You know, I get messages from people saying, hey, I need to do this, I need to do that, but I can't cover any more bases. Russ can't cover any more bases. We're doing everything we can. We actually need people in the field to try to perhaps track where this ash is going by whatever means they can. And we need that kind of help desperately. We're trying to tend as many fires as we can on this end, but we don't have budgets or staffs or anything like that. So we're just trying to keep our head above the waterline. I try to keep the research out as fast as I can, cover all the radio shows I can, because that keeps new people coming on board, and that builds our army. And as our army gets bigger, we have different people with different professions, different abilities coming on board, and now we're a more formidable force. So, we're each tending different aspects of this battle, but we need people in the field to help us research other dots that would connect in that issue, where the material might be, where it might be going, we could use all the help we can get.
Well, I appreciate that. My question wasn't directly directed at you or Russ, but I didn't find anything on your site that gave any relationship or possible relationship between the two.
We would like to add to that, and I didn't mean to direct anything back at you either. Forgive me for that, but I'm just sending an appeal to the whole audience. We need all the help we can get to data mine, to turn up missing pieces to the puzzle, and we will help to put them together. But we definitely need as much assistance as we can get in that arena.
As others have mentioned, calling in, I'm trying to, as far as I can, make people aware, and I appreciate all of your efforts and Russ's and everyone out there that's trying to make people aware, and just let them know what's going on and let them make the decision on whether or not they want to investigate it or not.
It's all of us together that matters. And again, even those who roll their eyes, walk away, and head back to their golf game, they will have no choice soon. They will be forced to face this issue. The walls are closing in by the day. So even the seeds that seem to fall on sterile soil, if you will, they'll sprout soon enough. So let's all keep at it.
One last question for you, Dane. What other upcoming events might I be interested regarding the issue?
Well, I hope that there's something I might be able to announce perhaps in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and I can't yet. I don't have enough confirmation, if you will, but I will make announcements of anything that I know of as soon as I can. I don't have anything that I can tell you right now of any significant events, but we're working on things that I hope to be able to announce in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
I appreciate that and all your other sacrifices, Dane.
Same to you. Same to you. It's all of us together.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks, Tony. Have a great day.
Good to hear from you, Tony. Thank you very much. Caller with your number ends in 08. Who are we speaking with?
Good morning. This is Corey.
Hi, Corey.
Hi, Corey.
Hi. As Dane already knows, I'm in Prescott, Arizona. We're one of the areas that had snow yesterday. At about 2:45, it was snowing near downtown, and then again at 10 p.m. it was snowing very heavily. And we woke up to about a half an inch of snow that looked, it didn't look right. It was webby and so forth. But the more important thing I wanted to call in about is that this is just new information. The American Lung Association recently ranked Prescott, where I am, as number 1 on its list of the 12 U.S. cities with the cleanest air. And as a result of that, the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality stated that they've been monitoring our air 24 hours a day from 2008 until 2013. Because of this new designation that we're number 1 cleanest city in the U.S., which is totally ridiculous because, as you know, my skies are horrendous, including today. I can't even see any definition. It's a whiteout. Because of this, they have discontinued particle pollution monitoring. And not only that, this new designation also means that we are now exempt from the requirements of the U.S. Clean Air Act. So they're measuring particles of 2.5, or they were. So now, as you know, my question is, if they're not monitoring our air at all, how would we have any substantial proof of our air quality being, in a dangerous harm zone?
This is business as usual. This is absolutely business as usual, and this is what the American population needs to wake up to. Official public protection agencies are there to hide the dangers and hide the truth, not to disclose them, not to deal with them, but to mask them and to hide them. And when you have air quality testing that is at best PM 2.5 microns, typically it's
right.
PM 10 microns. So we're talking about a literal boulder in comparison to the nanoparticulates that we're dealing with climate engineering. How can you, again, we're back to the point where the air quality testing would be like trying to catch a minnow in a tuna net. You can't do it. It's totally futile, and of course you don't catch any minnows in a tuna net. You can't. It's the same with the air testing quality we have right now because the system is designed not to show the danger, period. So all the people who participate, Corey, all the air quality testing people and all those who are helping to hide the crimes are all criminals themselves. They are criminals themselves. It's not okay because it's just their job. It's not okay. And the sooner we get this issue to light, and I think, Corey, you would agree with me, and Russ, and I hope everyone else does too, that all those who have knowingly participated in the cover-up of these crimes are themselves liable as criminals. And I hope they are put on trial soon, because that's where they belong. It's not okay. I don't care what your financial situation is. I don't care how desperate, if you're going to lose your house because you can't make your payment. That does not excuse you hiding an issue that is killing people. It's not okay. So, again, Corey, I sympathize with what you've been through. I fought this out in the state with the Capitol EPA meetings, and the same scenario told in my face. High-level EPA meeting. I've shared this before. 5 top officials made it clear they're mandated to look for combustion particulates only, PM 2.5 at best. You can't find what you're told not to look for. So all those participating who know, again, the public has to hold them responsible, period. And on the psychological operations, again, on the snowing in Prescott last night, it's very much a psychological operation to confuse and divide, and it's done a lot of confusing and dividing in our own ranks with the anti-geoengineering community. When people see snow falling on the pyramids, for example, or in Israel, and the media hypes that up, there are so many people, even if they live in the scaldingly hot California that's turning into a desert, if they see that, it overrides their sense of reason in many cases. It makes them think, oh, well, it can't be warming. There can't be anything wrong with the climate because, look, I see snow on the pyramids of Gaza. That's because they can make it snow there. They can make it snow, and they are doing that. And we have the patents to prove this. We have the Chinese scientists. People should Google Chinese scientists engineer snowstorm. Mainstream media covered it. This is so much of the climate engineering is a psychological operation right now to keep the division and confusion going as long as possible while the power structure is maneuvering and digging in. They don't want us uniting in a common cause with common conclusions. So anyway, sorry to rant, but on all cases, I'm with you 100%, and I appreciate all you're doing, Corey, to help sound the alarm. And by the way, for those who don't know who Corey is, she does an awful lot in this fight, and I'm extremely grateful to her.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dane. Yeah, yesterday when it was snowing in the afternoon, it was 48 degrees. So,
there you go.
Very, very, very clear. Very clear. I'm going to get off because there's so many great callers, and talk to you later.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you, Corey. I will add, too, that I called the State of Maine Department of Air Quality, or the Bureau of Air Quality, talked to the head twice, 2 different people. They changed the head. Jim Brooks, very professional. Melanie Loism, both very professional. The excuses they came back with, ultimately, they tried to explain the jets. I saw every 2 minutes for 8 hours a jet. They explained, oh, well, you're in one of the air traffic patterns for Bangor Airport. Bangor Airport doesn't have a tiny fraction of that airport traffic. So just a lame excuse. Ultimately, when I called her on it, she said, this is the head of the Bureau of Air Quality, said, well, we just don't have funding to pursue these types of topics. Just amazing. Caller with your number. To support what you're saying, Dane, they have no interest in pursuing it. No interest at all. They do sound like they're covering it up. And it makes me want to just ask them that very question. Caller with your number that ends in 92. Who are we talking with?
Hi, Dane. Hi, Russ. This is Elizabeth from New Jersey. How you doing?
Hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good to have you on.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you for all that you guys do. And just want to let you know, I'm kind of finding some satisfaction in a Twitter account. Every time I find the National Weather Service, and they did this whole prep chat on climate change, and they wanted you to tweet in the questions. Oh, boy. So Corey helped me with the one. It was the greatest question. And it was, why are you refusing to recognize publicly that solar radiation management is currently happening? They, of course, didn't answer us, but everybody was favoring it and tweeting it back to them. And then the next question was, why would the president have to sign an executive order preparing the U.S. for the impacts of climate change? You know? And the last question was, why not look at the main cause instead of having to be prepared for national weather disasters? Ban climate engineering. It's just great to be able to just come back at them and give them answers when they start mentioning climate change, you know? And we have just really been relentless with tweeting them, and I just love it because they usually ignore us, but when you have so many people going at them as well, there's so many activists on here now, and it is just wonderful.
What you're doing is extremely important, Elizabeth, and I hope other people follow your lead. You've done a lot to start spot fires, and utilizing social media is imperative. And for those who are hiding in the shadows and don't want to be on the radar because they're using social media, they know who everybody is. Our best bet, our best chance of making a difference, of possibly preserving part of the planet's life support systems, is to come out of the shadows, join together, and stand out in the open. You can't do any good hiding in the shadows. So thank you for what you're doing, and I hope other people follow your lead and actually use the Twitter accounts and Facebook. Every tool at our disposal must be used. In regard to the term climate change, that term, again, was implemented in 98, 99 after the warmest year ever, the 98 El Nino. They completely unleashed the climate engineering programs that had been going on for many decades already, but they completely unleashed them after 98. That's when the climate change term was really utilized, because they knew they would be causing radical fluctuations from hot to cold for all the reasons that we already outlined. And we know now, we have recent peer-reviewed study, that these anomalous, freakish cool downs are not something that we would associate with the warming planet. So where does that leave us? Yet more confirmation that those cool downs are absolutely engineered. So again, many of the media outlets have bought the lie and repeated the lie, recited the lie that we should expect these radical swings up and down. That is not true. Those swings are because they're engineering cool downs in certain locations like the pyramids, like Israel, like we just talked about, to further the confusion as to the true state of the climate. Those events are totally engineered. So again, the spot fires are starting, the social media. Thank you, Elizabeth. You've done a lot of good, and I hope a lot of people follow your lead.
Thank you. And Roseanne Barr has been wonderful, I have to say, with favoriting our tweets about, geoengineering and waking up the public. She has really been wonderful.
So keep that up. And hey, I know we're about to go off the air. I apologize to any who didn't make it in yet, but during this next week, again, I hope everybody considers every single day matters in this battle. Follow Jacqueline's lead, Elizabeth's lead, Corey, Rode. Everybody is doing what they can, and perfect your methods of introducing this issue to others so you can do it in the fewest words, the most compelling words, and pass on credible data. That's what gets the job done. Arm yourself with that. Keep it with you all the time. Make every day count. Use your computer. Send emails. Use our flaming arrow link off the top left of the homepage of GeoEngineering Watch. It's already prepared. Send it out to people. Give them a heads up on what's going on. Again, every single day counts. Russ?
Yeah, absolutely. We're about at the end of the show here. I'm sorry for the callers that we didn't get to. We only have a few seconds left here, but we are here. This is GeoEngineering Watch Radio. We're here every Saturday at 12 noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time on UCY.TV. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Tell everyone.
The Anti-Media Radio, your host Nick Burnaby here on UCY.TV.